Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is Horror Heads, and this episode we are going to be talking about a movie that is almost as old as we are, way back in the old 80s, as early in the 80s as you can even get, from 1980, a movie that me and Mark remember from our childhood, and it is Motel Hell.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that if you grew up in the 80s and you spent a lot of time in the video store looking for a movie, I am sure that if you were in the horror section, you came across Motel Hell, because pretty much every video store back then had it. Everywhere I remember. I mean, I remember always going around and checking out the boxes and always seeing this one. And it was one of those movies for me that I never saw, early on. I think I finally saw it when I moved out. I was around 19, 20 years old and rented it for the first time and got to see it to add on my list of horror movies. And now, after all these years, 20 years later, you and I went ahead and took and revisited this film.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that when you saw it at the video store, the cover on the box was always real memorable. I always remember, for me, I always seem to remember a pig being on the cover, or like you were saying earlier, the other popular one too was the picture of the planted heads in the field with the farmers in the background, kind of like a spoof on, what is that, American Gothic? A little bit?
Yeah.
So this movie really is, the storyline of this is pretty simple. So basically it's a farmer who he is kidnapping travelers, and where it gets a little goofy is it's him and his sister, and they are running this hotel, or motel I should say, hence the name Motel Hell, but they are planting these kidnap victims in their garden and basically preparing them for their roadside smoked meats that they sell in their hotel or in their motel. That's basically it. That's pretty much what the gist of the story is. And I didn't realize this until after I watched it recently, because the movie is really goofy. I guess I didn't realize up until, like I said a couple of weeks ago, that it was more of a horror comedy. And then as I was doing some prep for this show, come to find out this movie, by a lot of people, is considered to be a parody of a lot of the slasher films of the 70s, more than a real gore movie or a real slasher movie itself. Even though this movie is, for the time, was fairly gory.
That's one of those things too, because as soon as I started watching it, I pretty quickly was getting a whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe from it. I mean, you've got the old guy, puts the girl in the truck and takes her back, and it had the whole family kind of thing going on, and then obviously the whole, they're turning people into beef jerky, or I don't know.
Yeah, the smoked sausages.
Smoked sausage,
or
that's
smoked
right.
meat treats, or whatever they were calling them.
Okay. So it had that whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to it, to me. The secluded hotel or motel, and people are coming in, and and then they're turning them into meat and selling it. And I mean, there's a chainsaw battle. Clearly not nearly as good, though. I mean, I don't think held a candle to it. And this it's kind of funny, because Motel Hell to me is like one of these movies that, I guess, like when you're younger, when you're a kid and you see something and you see it enough, it just sort of like, oh, that movie must be really good, because everywhere I go I see it. I see the box for it or whatever. But it really, to me, doesn't hold up, and it's not a real, even as an example of 1980s horror. To me it was kind of a letdown.
Well, I'll say when I first put this on a couple weeks ago, the very first thing that I noticed was Wolfman Jack is in this movie. But I remember when the opening credits were coming on, it said Wolfman Jack, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool, maybe. And then I was sort of on the fence with it. I was like, oh, this is kind of lame. This is going nowhere. And then they get to the part where they do the big reveal in the garden with all the heads sticking out of the dirt. And then I was like, okay, now you got me. That's freaking weird and cool.
Oh, you didn't know about that?
I kind of knew about it, but I mean, I hadn't seen it up until that point. I had said before we started recording, I don't remember ever seeing this movie when I was younger. I might have, and if I had, I mean, there's a lot of times where, you'll see something and then completely forget about it. Yeah, when they were doing that big reveal in the garden, and the only thing I didn't like about it was the sounds that the guys were making, or the people were making, was kind of weird.
Yeah, they basically cut their vocal cords out or something.
Yeah, something. I don't remember what they were doing to it, but I was like, oh, that's cool.
What was the point of that again? Anyway, I don't know why I didn't catch that. But look, why did they stick them in the ground if they were just going to kill them anyway?
I don't know. I don't know if they were like trying to grow them or something goofy. At the end of the movie, not to give everything away at the end of the movie, but at the end of the movie, the farmer does make a confession that he's been using pesticides, so his meats aren't as natural as he claimed they were, or something along those lines.
That's funny.
Yeah, I never got why they were being planted either, but I just like when it first came out that they were, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
This farmer and his sister, the farmer basically goes out and puts like bear traps out on the road, tries to catch people driving by and pop their tires or whatever. Then he takes the bodies back, puts them to sleep, or if they go to his motel, then he puts them to sleep or whatever. And then he buries them up to their necks in a garden, and then does a surgery on them to cut their vocal cords out so they can't scream. And then he puts like a bag over their head sticking out of the garden, and it's just kind of, they can't scream. Here's the weird part. So all of that, right, all the work and effort that takes, and then to even make it even more strange, he brings like these psychedelic twirly lights out, put them into a trance that like he pulls the bags off their heads, and then they can't scream or they can't make any noise, so they're just kind of like making that strange noise, like you said, like kind of thing, and then he turns on this like psychedelic twirly light thing, and it kind of puts them in a trance. Meanwhile, the sister puts a noose on their necks, ties the end of the rope to a tractor, and then puts the tractor in forward, breaks all their necks. That's like a whole heck of a lot of work. What is up with that? That made no sense to me. And then they just take the bodies back to the like their little sausage slaughterhouse place, and then turn them into sausages.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the whole thing was kind of goofy, and like I said before, I think it was all kind of more parody than it was to be serious about anything. I wonder, back in 1980 when this came out, I didn't watch the trailer for it, but I wonder if it was kind of known then, like, oh, this is poking fun at all these other movies.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because there's some really strange things about this film. And then like the end when the farmer comes out with the pig head on with the chainsaw. First of all, if you're going to go you're going to attack somebody with a shotgun with a chainsaw and you're wearing a pig head, I mean, how the heck was he seeing out of that thing? It wasn't like it was a mask with eye holes. So that was a very, very strange. I remember that, the first time I saw it too. So that was kind of strange. Another scene that like really kind of took me out of the moment, or just kind of was very odd, was the tubing scene. Do you remember that? The sister, I guess she's getting jealous because, okay, yeah, I mean, we got to go back even further because this is really strange. Like the first people that get caught in the farmer's bear trap, It's like a couple, and I think 2 or 3 people. Anyhow, the guy ends up dying, or he gets killed, or he brings the bodies back to the motel. The girl is unconscious, and when she wakes up, he basically says, "Oh, your boyfriend? Yeah, he didn't make it. I went ahead and buried him. I hope that's okay." And then she ends up like falling in love with him, which is even stranger. But there's a scene where the sister, the sister of the farmer, takes the girl tubing, which basically they jump into an inner tube and go like swimming in this like man-made lake. She wants to kill her, and so she pops her own inner tube. The girl goes to help her, and then she goes trying to drown her. That whole scene was so bizarre. It's like who writes that? None of that made sense. I hate railing on a 1980 horror film because I mean, to me that was like the golden era, like the late 70s, early 80s. That's when it was really happening. I wish we could say nicer things about it, but I mean, there's some pretty strange stuff that we're talking about here.
The one scene that I didn't care for in the movie was kind of towards the beginning. So you had that, like you had said, you had these teens or whatever they were that he booby-trapped and caught them. They had this other couple that actually came to the motel to check in, and then they revealed that they were swingers, and they were like, oh, okay, cool. And so then there was like this weird sex swinging party in the room. That one was really weird. Some of the comparisons with it that were a little odd to, or not odd, but to Texas Chainsaw Massacre was, so you had the brother and sister that were running the motel. Their brother was the cop in the town, so, when anything was reported or whatever, he just, like, kind of blew it off. The pig mask at the end of the movie, I actually thought that was pretty cool. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie, was the pig mask. It was pretty cool, and that anybody nowadays, I mean, if you're watching, like, American Horror Story or something, that's kind of commonplace anymore, but...
Yeah, or Saw. Saw did it really well, I thought.
And then that chainsaw fight at the end of the movie, I thought that was pretty cool, too.
Yeah, it was kind of like it's kind of funny because Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which came out after this movie 5 years later, had a chainsaw battle. It's interesting. I wonder if Tobe Hooper, who did Chainsaw 2, as well as the original, I wonder if he saw this and was like, oh, I got to do a chainsaw battle. Yeah, this movie was like a very interesting kind. You know what? A movie that I like. I don't know if we've done this movie yet. I'll have to look at our catalog. We have to if we haven't yet. But Tourist Trap. It's like it's a horror movie that from like the late 70s, and it came out right around when Halloween came out. And it's got a lot of cool ideas, but it's not like quite the caliber of Halloween or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it's kind of a strange oddity for what it is.
No, I was just looking through real quick. I don't think we did Tourist Trap yet, so
we'll have to hit that one for sure. That's on where did I see it? It might have been Amazon. It's one of those movies that sort of falls through the cracks, like Tourist Trap did. You have to be a horror fan to know about Tourist Trap. It's one of those movies that if you're looking for horror, and especially in that era, you're gonna like eventually stumble upon Tourist Trap. But the general public, they're not gonna know anything about it. Motel Hell is kind of like that. Like you've heard of the Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, Friday the 13th, but Motel Hell, that's like one of those ones that you have to go to the next level in your horror fanaticism or interest, to get to that one. This one kind of reminds me of that. I do enjoy Tourist Trap better. I mean that's actually one of those bizarre, odd movies that I actually really like. And this one I wanted to like in the same vein of that, like, oh, it's this weird movie but it just didn't do it for me. I was very disappointed, and I hate to say that. I hate being negative about a horror film, especially like I said, a 1980s horror film. But I gotta calls it like I sees it.
This one too, I don't know if it has that big of a cult following. I mean, I don't really see too much Motel Hell stuff out there.
probably not that big of a cult following. It's probably more like kind of one, like, I guess, like I could imagine people walking around with a vintage looking T-shirt with Motel Hell written on it or something, But I probably not like a big fan base or anything like that.
Yeah.
But just kind of like one of those things where, kind of like what you and I are saying, like it's one of those titles that really kind of conjures up the whole early 80s video store horror period of time. So I think it probably is like Deadly Spawn, which we did not that long, well, I guess it was a year ago. Kind of like that. It's probably one of those movies that, people remember the box art at the video store and kind of talk about it at that level.
Aside from the VHS release, it got a DVD release finally in like 2002, but I can only find that it was part of one of those collections, that you see like at whatever, Best Buy or Walmart or Target or whatever. That I would assume it probably too, it was like right around Halloween time, so September, October, they put all these double features out. And it was part of a collection with a 1974 movie called Deranged. I don't see any other DVD releases for it. And then it finally got a Blu-ray in the UK in 2013, and then Scream Factory finally put it out on Blu-ray in 2014. So maybe with the Scream Factory release, maybe it does have a little bit of a cult following. I'm not sure.
I think so. I think it does, for horror movie fans. I mean, Scream Factory grabs like those kind of obscure films that people kind of stick to. Scream Factory, by the way, I mean that's one of the best Blu-ray distribution companies ever. They really know what they're doing. I still got to pick up The Howling and a few of the Carpenter films that I haven't grabbed yet. But I mean, the Halloween 2 Blu-ray that I have from Scream Factory is just top notch. I love that thing. And I love how they did the menu. I love the features and the bonus stuff. It's just incredible.
It's not Scream Factory, but I was at Walmart earlier today, and they still have a bunch of their horror movies left over yet from Halloween.
Oh, do they?
And I was hoping that they were going to be on clearance, but none of them were. Oh,
really?
Damn. Not yet. No, I'll have to check again in a couple of weeks.
Halloween's like way over now.
Yeah, and it wasn't... I mean, there wasn't a ton of them, but anymore it always seems like they don't really have any horror movies, except for like new ones, until right around Halloween, and they still had like a whole little bit of a section of them. And it was all just regular DVDs. They weren't any Blu-rays. Black Friday's coming up, so maybe I'll get lucky and score some dirt cheap horror movies during Black Friday.
Cool. Yeah, I might have to do that too.
We always go to Walmart on Black Friday, like in the afternoon. We're not doing that whole crazy shopper stuff in the morning, but we'll go to Walmart in the afternoon, and because they always have like a bunch of like, I think they're like $1.50 or $2 DVDs and stuff. So I always pick up a bunch of those, and then.
Well, I was a complete dumbass when it came to Black Friday a few years ago. I had no idea the reality of it because my brother stayed with us one Thanksgiving, and we were watching the Godfather trilogy around midnight. I was like, hey, I need a new... This was before I had a flat screen TV and all that, And I was like, hey, I really want to get a new TV. It's about that time. Why don't we go out at midnight? And at Best Buy, they have a deal for like I think it was like a Sharp, a 42-inch or something like that for real cheap. And he was like, okay. So I'm thinking like, yeah, we're just going to stroll on into Best Buy at midnight, and it's just going to be handed to us basically. But then when we got there, there were people there that had been there all day in line, and then there were maybe 5 TVs of what I wanted. So it was like at that point we drove by. I'm like, yeah, this ain't gonna work, and we just drove home. And then like a couple days later, I found a TV at Target.
So a little story I'll tell real quick before we wrap stuff up was this is. Our second or third episode of Horror Heads, and me and Mark have been chit-chatting since we changed the name a couple of weeks ago, and if you listen to the episode when we actually changed the name in the episode, kind of a behind-the-scenes episode, we were talking about how one of the reasons that we wanted to change the name was because it a little bit hard to find our old show if you weren't looking specifically for it. We've had about 300 downloads in the past 2 weeks, or a little bit more than 300, or not even 2 weeks. Our name's officially only been changed for a week. So we've had a little bit over 300 downloads in a week. To some of you guys out there that listen to other podcasts that have like thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads, that might not seem like a lot, but we've been doing this for a little bit over 2 years now, and the most of our episodes ever got downloaded before was like 10, 15. I think if we got any more than like that, it was a bit of a stretch. So that's pretty cool for us. So I was going to do a giveaway. I was like, I was going to do this giveaway, and I bought this cool little Ben Tramer button from Psychedelic Company. And I was like, oh, cool, when I get this thing, I'm going to give it away on the show. I got it in the mail the other day. I pulled it out of the envelope. I snapped a picture of it. I sent it to Mark. He's like, oh, I got the button already. He's like, cool. I'm like, yeah, pretty cool. And then I took it off of the cardboard and I put it on my hat. So I'm not giving it away.
And I wonder how many of you horror fanatics like or know who Ben Tramer is.
You know what's funny about it is I've already been asked 3 times.
Really?
If it's a Michael Myers pin.
Really?
Like, nope, it's Ben Tramer. Oh. Yeah, he's got yellow hair. Ben Tramer.
Come on now. Think about it. Ben Tramer. Who's Ben Tramer? Well, he was the guy who Lori wanted to date. And then what happened to poor Ben Tramer? Well, Ben Tramer decided to get drunk and put on a mask that was very similar to Michael Myers' mask, except it had yellow hair and kind of a different color face. And Dr. Loomis, who was like completely obsessed with that's such a funny scene in Halloween 2. I mean, like let's step back for a second and like look at this scene in reality. Okay, so you're a psychiatrist and you're with the sheriff, of a town, and you're driving through town, and then all of a sudden, like you say, "Oh shit, pull over!" And you run out of the car with a loaded gun, and you go and you're like, "See that guy over there with the mask? I'm gonna shoot him." That right there that sheriff in real life would have like taken Dr. Loomis down and put into prison or into jail, and all kinds of legal crap would have happened to him. But no, Dr. Loomis goes out and shoots at Ben Tramer. I don't know if did he get a bullet out? I don't remember.
Mm-mm.
Okay, and then the sheriff like comes and stops him, and then Ben Tramer, who is drunk, is crossing the road without looking both ways, and boom, he gets hit. Kind of funny too. Here's a little bit of Halloween 2 trivia. The police officer who hits Ben Tramer when he gets out of the car, it's Dick Warlock, who is the guy who plays Michael Myers in Halloween 2, and he actually got cast. He's billed for both of those roles as that police officer and Michael Myers.
So yeah, check them out, Psychedelic Company. Look them up on Facebook or on Instagram, and they're not paying me to say that, so...
Ooh, cool.
Maybe if enough people go over there and say, hey, Horrorhead sent us, maybe they'll send me some more. So maybe I'll do a giveaway in the future. We'll see. But I was thinking, like, oh, maybe I'll give this away. And then as soon as I got it, I pulled it out, and I'm like, nope, this thing's pretty cool. It's mine.
Well, that's cool. And also, if you're a Ben Tramer fan, Trick or Treat Studios, which, oh gosh, if you're a Halloween fan or a mask fan, you are just, I mean, these people are just, they're like, I don't know, like they make it's like Christmas all year round because of these people. They make a Ben Tramer mask, the first official, I think, ever in existence, Ben Tramer mask. So go check that out.
Do you imagine wearing that on Halloween?
I wouldn't be crossing any roads with that on.
All the explanation you would have to do to people. Like, even if you just went to like a Halloween party, at a bar. Michael Myers has brown hair, dumbass. It's Ben Tramer.
Oh, speaking of which, there is one other scene, other time that Michael Myers' mask had that color hair. Do you know it? Because I'll tell you if you don't.
Yeah, I know it. It's in Halloween 4.
Damn, you're good. That's when they screwed up and they shot the whole movie with the wrong mask, or like they had a reproduction of the Kirk mask, and then they went back and did a mask that looked more similar to the original movie, but for some reason that scene in the schoolhouse, they left it. It's funny because Danielle Harris, when Halloween 5 came out, I was like in 7th grade, I think, or 6th grade or 7th grade, something like that. And 7th grade, okay. They had this like featurette that they played constantly on cable about the making of Halloween 5, and it had Danielle Harris, and she was interviewed. It was like the last scene in the jailhouse when she's going through and she sees all the dead police officers and she's freaking out and all that. And I remember watching that with my mom, and I remember her saying, "Wow, she's your age. Maybe you can be in a Halloween movie." And then I remember that. But she always seemed like she looked a lot younger than what I recalled myself looking at that time. But maybe that's just the way I was perceiving it. Anyhow, so I always knew that she was my age. It was kind of a weird thing because of my mom telling me that. But
she's closer to yours than she is me, that's for sure. But
did she hit the big 40 yet?
No, it's in. I think her birthday is in April or something. April.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm older by a month then.
Yeah, something like that. March, April, somewhere around there. So.
Okay.
All right, so I think that wraps up this episode. I believe Mark gives this movie kind of a sort of a thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Oh, I hate doing that. Here's how I'm gonna rate it. I'm gonna say, in terms of the film in and of itself, I'm going to have to just go ahead and say no. Put my thumbs down and say it's not a good film. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're a horror fan, especially a late 70s, early 80s horror fan, you're probably going to need to watch this just to say you did. Just if you want any street cred.
Street cred.
So I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm going to say with the combination of planting the people in the ground and the chainsaw-wielding, pig mask-wearing dude at the end of the movie, I give this one a thumbs up.
Really?
While I do say that I'm going to give this a thumbs up, I'll probably never watch it again.
So you're not going to pick up the Shout Factory version?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. But I actually did enjoy it when I watched it the other day. Like I said before, I can't remember if that's the first time I've seen it ever or not. But I definitely give it a thumbs up. And it's not necessarily like a double thumbs up or even a thumbs way up. It's just a thumbs kind of up. The best way to describe it is if, this is the middle of November 2016 right now. So the political landscape in this country has made some major changes in the past month. And if you follow politics at all, I guess the best way to think of it is kind of like a Trump thumbs up. So you're not really sure if his thumb is like pointed up or not. He's just kind of like there. I don't know. Yeah, thumbs up for me.
Interesting. That actually surprised me. I thought this was going to be a major thumbs down for you, but
no.
So very interesting. Cool, I was surprised, and I like that.
All right, guys, so this has been Horror Heads. I'm Shannon, and he's Mark. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. We're on both of those. We should be on all the major podcasting apps, but if you're listening to this, you already know how to find us. Check us out on iTunes. Leave us a rating, give us a thumbs up, or whatever you do on there, and we'll be back next week.
Damn, we're everywhere. I didn't realize that.